On December 27, 1892, Livingstone and Biddle College, now known as Johnson C. Smith University, played in Salisbury, North Carolina, with Biddle winning 5-0. Over time, HBCU football has evolved. HBCU football's popularity continues to rise. Millions attend games each year and millions more watch on television. The HBCU bands provide some of the top entertainment in the country. Over that time, some of the best players to ever play in the National Football League played at HBCUs. Every Monday through Friday on the HBCU Football Daily Podcast, national radio and television host Donal Ware takes a look at what's happening in HBCU football and talks with coaches, players, administrators, and media about the season. Make sure you join the conversation on social media now. Here's your host, Donal Ware.
You got it locked to the HBCU Football Daily Podcast for today, Friday, September the 1st. I'm Donal Ware. Wait for it. It's Friday. And I'm going to tell you what, this is week one. We already had the opening week, but this is week one of the HBCU football season. Most of the teams are scheduled to play, as a matter of fact, whether it's already been on yesterday, got a game tonight, and then most of the games tomorrow. We're joined by a gentleman, as a matter of fact, in his third season as the head football coach at Tennessee State, a great player in the National Football League, of course, an NFL MVP, formerly of the Titans, and also with the Cowboys. I guess we won't, since we're Washington fans, we won't speak on that. We are joined by Eddie George here on the program. What's going on, Coach George?
Man, I'm blessed, brother. I can't complain. Love the intro. Love the energy, man. I wish we had your energy at practice today. It got a little hot on our boys. They were feeling a little sorry for themselves. They had to be in pads today. But I said, hey, we playing Notre Dame this week. We got to be in pads. It's going to be a physical battle. We got to be ready for it. So, but no, I'm really excited to be on the show, brother.
Yeah, no, appreciate having you. And you're old school in that way. Like, I don't know. Speak to it, because it's different for you, this being your first head coaching job, even though you're in your third season, but you came up in a different time. You got to have that old school mentality with these young kids, correct?
Is there any other way?
No.
Hey, I don't know any other way. They hired me to bring my thumbprint, put my thumbprint on the program, and I just know, a certain way of doing things, and I'm going to do it that way, with the exception of tweaking here and there to some of the rules, some of where our kids are. I'm not out to beat them up. I'm out to prepare them to play battle in between the white lines, but within that, also prepare them for life. And guess what? It's going to be a loving situation, and it's going to be a tough love situation. So there'll be times when I have to discipline them. There'll be times where I have to coddle them. There'll be times where I have to inspire them. There'll be times that I have to push them in a different way, and to get them to reach their full potential, and to understand that what we're capable of doing. There's a certain standard and level of excellence that I require every single moment of the day, that's seen and unseen. So, yes, there is an element of that, of that tough love, and just the things that maybe the player that I am and the teams that I've been on, I'm going to incorporate that into what we're doing here at Tennessee State.
I think it's great when our schools can step up and play the FBS opponents. It's even greater when you can play brand names. You guys are playing Notre Dame. As college football goes, I don't know if you get more, all respect to Ohio State, but I don't know if you get any more name brand than Notre Dame. So how did this game, this is a great opportunity for Tennessee State. How did this game come about?
Well, it came about last year, back in, I want to say April of last year, when Notre Dame was looking for a team to play on their schedule coming off of their game against Navy this week. And we so happen to have an open date. Marcus and I are great friends. I know some of the administrative people at Notre Dame. So we said, hey, let's try to see make this happen. The first time that Notre Dame would have scheduled an FCS program and an HBCU, and it's going to be an historic day, regardless of the outcome for our kids, to go to the historic venue, to play in the cathedral of all venues, touchdown Jesus, the beautiful architecture, the brick, the limestone brick buildings at Notre Dame. It's going to be once in a lifetime experience. So to leave our footprint of the OVC and HBCU football and go play a team that you watch on television and a program that you aspire to be like, hey, we're going to go play it, anytime, anywhere. And that's what I stand on. And we're going to go learn, we're going to grow, we're going to get better in the process of that.
Your thoughts on the Big South and OVC conference, which was really something that was needed. I mean, both conferences needed to kind of come together and continue playing football in a conference which is now combined.
Yeah. Well, we're seeing a lot of change happen at the top at the FBS level. Pac-12 has dissolved, and it's going to merge with the Big Ten. You're seeing some of the other teams, go down to the Big 12. And guess what? We're not done. I think there's still things that are going to happen. With that being said, we are seeing a ripple effect down at our level. Teams moving up, from our conference over the last, since I got in the conference, I want to say 3 or 4 teams have left for FBS programs. Jacksonville State won, another Austin P, Murray State. So something had to be done to stabilize, FBS football. And what is a short-term fix. I know the leadership at the OVC, they're always looking to strengthen our conference by finding other schools to combine that with. And I think it's a good fit for both schools to preserve our level of football in a real, truthful, meaningful way that's creative and hopefully it can be lucrative for all parties at some point in time.
Eddie George, again, in his 3rd season as the head football coach at Tennessee State, he joins us here on the program. Let's talk some personnel, Coach George. Let's start with Draylon Ellis, the quarterback. He's on the watch list in terms of the OVC and Big South. Obviously played for you last year's returning guy. Your thoughts on maybe the improvements he made from 2022 and what you've seen in fall camp to this point?
Well, the biggest improvement I've seen from Draylon has been off the field. He's taken true ownership of the standard of what it means to be a leader, not just talking about it, but by through his actions, by his body language. He has made vast improvements in that area. As a player, he has tremendous arm talent. Trying to get him to buy into nickel and diming versus trying to take that 3-point shot from half court or going after the big home run all the time, because he has such a big arm. He wants to show that off and saying, hey, take what the defense gives you. Be the manager. Allow the game to come to you. The spectacular will happen in the routine. So, do the routine things routinely. And if it's there, take it. The goal is to keep a drive alive, not to score touchdowns all the time. So I'm seeing growth there of him taking ownership and understanding the offense and putting his thumbprint on it. And I'll say this, there's a great level of competition in the quarterback room now. Davion Bryan has come on. He's going to see a lot of time. Bigger guy, 6'3", about 235 pounds, has a great arm talent, and also can run the football for us. So I think between those two guys, we want to have a great deal of production out of the quarterback room. And with there's competition, it only raises the level of play, the level of urgency that you have to have as a quarterback. So I'm looking forward to watching both those guys play for us this year.
So both will play or potentially could play.
Yes, both potentially will play. Yes, at some point in time. Yes.
Okay, and the running back. I mean, that's your department, right? What does that room look like?
Well, I'm excited about the room. A lot of young guys have stepped up. Jalen Rouse was our starter last year, along with Devon Starling, who's no longer with us in terms of school-wise. Jalen does everything right. Solid player, fast, can block. He's a good pass catcher out of the backfield. Doesn't see a whole lot runs hard in between the tackles. So he's Mr. Dependable. Jordan Gant is an up-and-coming freshman who I think has tremendous upside. Bigger body, about 210, 215, heavy lower half, but he has shiftiness. He has an NFL pedigree. His uncle played for the Cowboys. Gant back in the late 90s, early 2000s. So he has a great deal of understanding of the game. And I'm curious, I can't wait to see how he is going to come out this year. Shifty guy, quick, has great burst. Trey Boone is a Mr. Do everything, plays a little fullback and running back. Craig Cunningham, also a redshirt freshman. He's more of your scat back type. And we have a bigger back in Adrian Parker, a junior college transfer that came in this year, bigger body, who comes downhill on you. So there's a bevy of running backs that I feel really, really good about, that on any given play can take over, or any given series can take over and do it for us. And that's something we want to believe in. We want to run to try to win. That's our philosophy. We've always believed in that. And the more guys that we have that are capable of doing it, the better.
From a defensive standpoint, I mean, you've got some guys that can really play some experience on the defensive side of the football. Just kind of speak to that side and your expectations for the defense as a whole.
Well, at every level, we have an all-conference player of the defense, whether it's Jalen Bell, who comes in as preseason all-conference player, defensive line transfer for us from last season. Terrell Allen, TA, also all-conference, the defensive end position. I think that defensive line has a chance to be really good. They continue to work and continue to put in the work that they've been doing throughout camp. The linebacking core, we bring back an all-conference player and James Green, who comes back as a graduate player. We have Monroe Beard, who was all-conference as well, coming in at where he played a couple seasons ago. And at the secondary, we have Bryce Phillips, Josh Green, really love Jeremiah Joseph, transfer from Duquesne. He's fitting beautifully at the safety position, and also I can't think of Harper, Darius Harper, who comes back for his graduate season. So we have a seasoned group, a group that plays with a little bit of an edge. They play fast. This is their third year in the defense, so they understand what they're doing. So the pieces and parts are there defensively for us to be competitive. We just can't keep them on the field very long because we are not very big. So we've got to balance that out by having an offense that can sustain drives and keep our defense fresh.
Eddie George, in his third season as the head football coach at Tennessee State, he joins us here on the program. Maybe the wins and losses, Coach George, aren't there, but and they're coming, obviously, particularly because you had a 3-game winning streak, if I remember, on last year. That said, are you satisfied with where the program is currently, and did you foresee yourself being in this position when you took this job back in 2021?
Well, in 2020, we won 5 ball games. That was the most games that we've won here since, I want to say, 2016. Last year, we kind of took a step back in the win-loss column, but when I look at it, we were very competitive in a lot of those ball games against some very good football teams, against SEMO, who was nationally ranked, against UT Martin, who was nationally ranked, against Jackson State, who was nationally ranked. We went out and played Eastern Washington Tough, who was nationally ranked. We dropped a couple games that we shouldn't have dropped, I believe, and we're looking at, we're about 3 or 4 plays away from saying, hey, we should have won 8 ball games. But I think because of the culture of what we're trying to establish was not strong enough to overcome those adverse times. So that's the thing that we're building on. I'm hoping that in the areas that we have vast improvement, both in the roster and just culturally speaking, will allow us to win a few more ball games this year. So we've been in the conversation for the last 2 seasons, late October, early November, to win the OVC. and we put ourselves in that position. So now we've been knocking at the door. Now it's time for us to kick the door down. We got to make that breakthrough. Say, hey, we're here. We're here to be contenders and show up every single week and be consistent.
What is a player with the Titans now in your third year or third season as the head coach at Tennessee State? What does the Nashville community mean to you?
Oh, wow. To watch Nashville grow over the last 20 years has been remarkable. It is the it city, from Music City to the sports scene, the entertainment scene, even the entrepreneurship element to it. It is we have almost 100 people moving to Nashville every day. Almost 30 cranes are in the sky right now. So growth is happening. But that being said, it's not the hit city for everybody. The underserved, people that don't necessarily have a voice, institutions like Tennessee State that are left in the dark and still behind in a lot of areas are not a part of that growth. So it's my duty and goal to help that move the needle in that direction, to get more resources here, to have this institution thrive at a high level, not just athletically, but academically, and on a national footprint, to bring in the best professors, the best administrative people that can advance this university and have it thrive the way it ought to be. This is not a job that I took just to be a football coach, but to inspire young people, inspire young men and women to find their God-given purpose by first finding God, and then through finding God, allowing God to guide them in their purposeful life without fear, but to walk in faith and to establish love in their life. So that part in where I'm at in my life, that's kind of how I see it. So Nashville has been a wonderful place for me to, one, sharpen my sword, to grow as a man, but also help this community be a better service for human beings.
No doubt. Last thought, and we appreciate the time. Your thoughts? You were a great running back, 9 years in the National Football League. Maybe could have been more. Some injuries, maybe the latter part of your career. What are your thoughts on the pay for running backs as it currently stands?
It's definitely changed. The value of the running back in the owner's eyes has shifted. I think it's still there. From a business perspective, they don't necessarily want to tie so many years into the running back position because it is a short shelf life in terms of productivity. And when you backload a contract on a running back who can't produce because of injury, because it's a demanding position, they're not willing to do that. So you're looking at 1-year deals. And I think that's the new reality for running backs moving forward, is that if you are a dude, you're not looking at longer term contracts. You're looking at a year-to-year deal, which is not bad money, but it's certainly not what doesn't reflect what the quarterbacks are getting or what of the other positions that affect the passing game are getting. And it's a shame that it's turned this route, because you still have to have a run game to win a championship. I mean, you look at all the great teams right now, they have an element of that. So that's just where we are in the business world of the NFL. And I think at some point in time, it'll get back to having balance and where the running backs will be valued.
Former NFL great, current head football coach, that is, at Tennessee State is Eddie George. He joins us here on the program. The Tigers going to be up in South Bend on Saturday, taking on Notre Dame. Big time game. Coach George, we appreciate the time. Good luck to you and the Tigers.
Thanks a lot, my brother. Appreciate you.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of the HBCU Football Daily Podcast. You can also listen to the podcast at boxtorow.com, iHeartMedia, or wherever you get your podcasts. Don't forget to get your HBCU football fix on Box to Row with Donal Ware each weekend on the radio station near you, and on SiriusXM on HBCU, Channel 142, and on ESPNU Radio on SiriusXM, Channel 84. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Box to Row for the latest in HBCU football, and don't forget to tell a friend.